troškova za izdvajanja za odbranu sa sadašnjim.
Without that, so I have to...
Fully discreet?
Yes. Morgen.
What are you expecting from today's declaration on the 5%? Will there be more opt-outs also from Belgium, from the Spanish model?
I would like to underline that there are no opt-outs whatsoever. Everybody accepts the same text. It's a matter of interpretation. You have to do the 5% and the capabilities, and the interpretation of Spain is that they can realize the capabilities without doing 3.5% of the GDP. Well, this remains to be seen. If this is their interpretation, it is everybody's interpretation.
What is Belgium going to do? 5%. What is Belgium going to do to reach their capabilities? Are European leaders fiddling the figures?
We're not fiddling the figures. I think 3.5% in 10 years' time is a realistic objective. It won't be easy to get there, but it is what NATO has decided as necessary to be ready for the threat that comes from Russia on the one side, and the other side there's also the burden shift, the reality that the United States is focusing on the Indo-Pacific theater, and that we as Europeans should take care of ourselves.
How far should we go to accommodate Donald Trump, who makes no secret of his disdain of Europeans? How far should we go to accommodate?
I don't think it is wise to comment on that, but it is a reality that we face. So as Europeans, we should realize that our long break from history is over, and that we have to take our own responsibility for the security of our own continent in a very difficult time. Sorry? Well, there's the capability targets that we have to achieve. And if you can do it for less than 3.5% on the strict defense spending, that would be great. If we can do it, we will try to do it as well. But NATO is not foolish. If they say it's going to be 3.5 to get it done, it's probably true. But we have the evaluation in 2029 that is also decided. We'll see how the world looks like in 5 years' time. Not all at the same time. There can be no discussion on Article 5, I believe. It is crucial that Article 5 is not subject to interpretation. Ja, wij hebben niet gedaan wat we moesten doen. We zijn lang een beetje een freeloader geweest binnen de NAVO. Er zijn nog andere landen die de 2% niet hebben gerealiseerd. Daarom was het voor mij belangrijk naar hier te komen met de 2% gerealiseerd. En ook een strategische visie om dat ook daadwerkelijk vorm te geven. En wij hebben ook al een plan om boven de 2% uit te stijgen in de komende jaren. Wij hebben op dit moment nog geen planning voor de 3,5%, maar we hebben wel afgesproken na deze NAVO-top om daar terug over samen te zitten. We hebben 10 jaar tijd, we hebben een vrij budgetair traject en we hebben uiteraard de mogelijkheid om, als we onze capaciteiten kunnen realiseren voor minder, van het ook voor minder te doen.
Meneer De Wever.
Wel, dat is een vraag die vele regeringsleiders zich op dit moment stellen. Wij hebben tijdens de Koude Oorlog altijd dit soort cijfers gerealiseerd, maar we zijn het al tientallen jaren niet meer gewoon. Dus dat betekent dat wij zeer moeilijke beslissingen moeten nemen. We hebben wel een timeframe gekregen om dat ook effectief te doen. En ik hoop dat ons dat zal lukken. Wel, er is voorzien in die 1,5% dat daar natuurlijk alle mogelijke weerbaarheidsuitgaven ook in rekening kunnen worden genomen, ook voor infrastructuur. Dat is natuurlijk een heel breed palet en ik denk, en het is ook mogelijk dat ook andere entiteiten, niet alleen de lidstaten, maar ook de deelstaten eraan kunnen bijdragen, inderdaad.
Meneer De Wever.
Het diner was nu niet van een aard dat wij allemaal heel serieuze besprekingen met elkaar hebben gehad. Dat was eerder een opwarmertje voor wat er vandaag moet gebeuren. Dus dat is gezellig verlopen.
Meneer De Wever.
You have a loud voice, which is very handy if you're talking all at the same time. The fighter jets haven't been decided yet. We know that in the capabilities that Belgium is obligated to achieve, there is aerial defense, and we will achieve that capability. We just haven't decided yet on how we're going to do it, but certainly on the if we're going to do it, there's a decision. Well, ik zal dat zien, maar ik ben daar eerlijk gezegd niet bang van. En als die er komt, dan zal ik er ook niet van onder de indruk zijn, eerlijk gezegd. Well, dat zal ik zien, hè. Dat hangt er vanaf. Ik weet niet of dat ik die ga krijgen, die bolwassing. We zullen dat wel zien. Maar ik maak me daar helemaal niet zenuwachtig over. Wij zijn een autonoom land en wij zijn geen kolonie van een ander land. Ik denk dat eenheid uitstralen voor deze top heel belangrijk is. En dus ik denk dat we allemaal op onze woorden moeten letten. Want wij staan onder dreiging van opkomende machten enerzijds, Indo-Pacific, maar anderzijds ook het imperialisme van Rusland, het gewapend imperialisme. Het is dus niet het moment om vechtend over de straat te rollen. Dus ik denk dat we op onze lip moeten bijten. Maar we moeten ons als Europeanen de komende 10 jaar wel realiseren dat we onze eigen strategische autonomie moeten uitbouwen en dat we dus capabilities moeten realiseren die we vandaag nog niet hebben. Anders zullen wij het geopolitieke spel moeten blijven ondergaan in plaats van spelen. Well, I understand, of course, the budgetary problems that my Spanish colleague has because I have exactly the same problems. We're almost in the same situation. So if he says that he can achieve the capability targets of Spain spending less money, that's an interpretation that he has. Mark Rutte has confirmed that this interpretation is correct. And if he can do so, that would be great. And of course, if he can do so, others can do so as well. And we will certainly also try to achieve our capability targets. And if possible, spend less than 3.5% of our GDP. Okay? We accept the same text for the 32 NATO members. It's important to stress upon that. There is no opt-out, there are no special treatments for any member state. It is the same text, and if the interpretation of Spain is correct, anybody can interpret the text in the same way. Okay? Because of course the strategists of NATO have calculated the amount of money needed with the prices of today to achieve the capability targets, and that should be around 3.5% of GDP of all the NATO member states to actually get it done. And I guess these people are not foolish, they know what they talk about, so probably they're right. It would be great to see that you can do what is calculated to be 3.5 for 2.1. As Pedrosanchez has said. If he can do so, he's a genius. And of course, geniality inspires people. Okay? Ja, u weet dat ik met een Nederlandse vrouw getrouwd ben en dat ik dus heel erg houd van dit land. Dus voor mij was het heel bijzonder en een beetje thuiskomen. Dankjewel. Ik denk dat Mark Rutte een moeilijke job heeft om iedereen in deze alliantie tevreden te houden. En dat hij veel moeite doet om zich van die taak te kwijten.
Maar was het niet een beetje over de top?
Hij doet veel moeite om zich van die taak te kwijten.
Meneer De Wever, uw eigen parlement noemde de NAVO-verhoging compleet crazy. Hoe staat u er nu in?
Ja, 5% van ons bbp uitgeven aan defensie, dat is nu niet direct iets waar je vrolijk van wordt. Maar als dat noodzakelijk is, dan zullen wij zien wat we kunnen doen. We hebben een langere tijdsperiode gekregen, flexibiliteit in het parcours en evaluatie in 29. Dat is wat we vroegen en dat is wat we gekregen hebben.
Wie runt vandaag de show eigenlijk? Is dat Mark Rutte of is dat Trump?
Hoe zegt u?
Wie runt vandaag de show? Wie is hier eigenlijk de baas?
Mark Rutte is de secretaris Generaal van de NAVO. Hij runt de show. De grootste lidstaat en de grootste spender in defensie, dat is uiteraard de Verenigde Staten. Daar zijn we ons van bewust. En als wij als Europeanen meer gelijke tred willen houden, dan zullen we meer moeten uitgeven. Niet om plezier te doen aan meneer Trump, maar om op gelijke hoogte te komen en ons eigen continent te kunnen verdedigen. Dank je wel, Ed. I'm not saying that I'm not going to spend 3.5%. We accept the capability targets. We have already augmented our defense spending. We're planning to do more. We have a period of 10 years and we will see what happens. We have an evaluation in 2029. We will see how the world looks like. But we want to be a NATO member that is loyal to its obligations. I think I already answered that question in Dutch. Okay, so we'll wrap it up. Thank you.
His custodianship of NATO. He had big shoes to fill, but I think he's doing a really good job in what is his first year. Thank you.
Dzień dobry, witam Państwa bardzo serdecznie. Szanowni Państwo, no, mój 11. i ostatni szczyt NATO. Bardzo się cieszę, że spotykamy się i cieszę się, że wszystko zapowiada jedność krajów sojuszu także i tym razem. Przede wszystkim w tej najważniejszej i ostatnio bardzo często rozważanej kwestii podwyższenia wydatków na obronność. Także mam nadzieję, że podejmiemy tutaj razem decyzję w tej sprawie. Jak również i w innych kwestiach, które są dla nas bardzo ważne, jeżeli chodzi o budowanie przede wszystkim bezpieczeństwa wschodniej flanki NATO. Z naszego polskiego punktu widzenia to jest fundamentalnie ważna sprawa. Mówię tutaj o wypełnieniu planów obronnych, którego przyspieszenie jest konieczne. Mówię także o organizacji brygadowych grup bojowych, które także są decyzją jednego ze szczytów NATO, które były wcześniej. Natomiast dzisiaj rzeczywiście najważniejsza jest sprawa wydatków na obronność. To po pierwsze, tak jak mówię, mam nadzieję, że będziemy mieli jedność. Wszystko zapowiada, że tak. Natomiast druga kwestia dla nas bardzo ważna w Polsce to przedłużenie rurociągów prowadzących paliwo, strategicznych rurociągów NATO prowadzących paliwo, które dzisiaj kończą się w Europie Zachodniej, przedłużenie ich na wschodnią flankę NATO, bo to jest w tej chwili bardzo istotne do tego, żeby rzeczywiście zapewnić obronę. Oczywiście będziemy dyskutowali też o innych kwestiach, będziemy dyskutowali też o rozwoju przemysłów obronnych, co jak Państwo wiecie doskonale jest w tej chwili niezbędne. To pokazała zresztą też i rosyjska agresja na Ukrainę, skala, w jakiej potrzebne jest uzbrojenie, a przede wszystkim amunicja. Więc to będą te wszystkie tematy, które dzisiaj będziemy omawiali. No oczywiście na pewno będzie poruszona też kwestia dalszej pomocy dla Ukrainy. No i problem konfliktu bliskowschodniego też pewnie będzie poruszany na tym szczycie, chociaż wcześniej, jak wiadomo, nie był przewidywany w harmonogramie prac, no ale to jest sprawa względnie nowa i pewnie będzie poruszona.
Understand the Spanish position about not reaching 5%. You understand the Spanish position about not reaching 5%.
Mr. President, if Poland can get to 5%, why can't other countries get to 5%? What is your message to those countries, and do you think it endangers the alliance, sir?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. Poland, of course, is making great strides to get to 5% and beyond as a percentage of GDP and into military spending. If Poland can do it, why can't other countries? What is your message to those other countries? And do you fear that it endangers the alliance and the US involvement if they don't get to 5%?
Precisely, I was the first leader who put this topic on the table. That was in March in the White House when I had a meeting with President Joe Biden. And I said to President, we have to increase military spendings in allied countries because it's absolutely necessary. We have to spend as much money for defense as we spent, as NATO countries spent during the Cold War. Because it's necessary. You see the threat of Russian potential aggression. You see the Russian imperialist policy, and this is absolutely necessary. So that was the first moment. Then in April 24, I talked with President Donald Trump in New York, in Trump Tower. The president was a candidate for the election. And I always repeated to him I'd also repeated to him that we should increase the military spendings. And I sent a letter to the Mark Rutte as a new Secretary General of NATO in March this year. Yes, that this topic should be one of the elements of the schedule of this NATO summit. So you see the discussion. Szanowni Państwo, no, dwie są podstawowe zasady w NATO. Jedność, bo ona jest konieczna do tego, żeby podjąć jakąkolwiek decyzję. Jeżeli podejmiemy decyzję o 5%, to nie ma dyskusji pod tytułem, czy ktoś wydaje, czy ktoś nie wydaje. Wszyscy mają obowiązek wydawać. Artykuł 5 jest jasny i wyraźny i oznacza kolektywną obronę. I nie ma tutaj żadnej dyskusji wokół tego artykułu. I'm absolutely sure. I'm absolutely sure.
President, today you played an important.
You know, it's difficult to say. Of course, I prefer to have it much earlier, yes, in 2030. But, you know, this is policy.
President, today you played an important role in reaching the 5% declaration today, hopefully. How do you feel about Mark Rutte giving all the credit to Donald Trump yesterday in his private text messages?
You know, the position of the President of the United States is the strongest in the alliance. So I understand that without the support of and without the leadership of Donald Trump, it would be impossible. Szanowni Państwo, no są, że tak powiem, bardzo różne sytuacje. Były takie szczyty NATO, że mieliśmy z panem prezydentem Trumpem nawet kilkanaście, kilkadziesiąt minut do tego, żeby spokojnie usiąść i porozmawiać, w bardzo, bym powiedział, wręcz takich prywatnych warunkach. Trudno jest mi dzisiaj powiedzieć. Na pewno będziemy mieli jakieś interakcje, no bo będziemy razem na sali, będziemy na pewno rozmawiali w trakcie szczytu. Natomiast czy będzie taka możliwość, żeby usiąść spokojnie, to zależy od bieżącej sytuacji po prostu. You know, I think that Russia is exhausted because of their aggression against Ukraine after this more than 3 years of aggression. Yes, and I don't expect that Russia is ready to attack other country now, but in the future, this is real risk. So we have to prepare ourselves. We have to increase our defense, our spendings on defense, because it's absolutely necessary for our security and for a future.
Mr. President, do you believe that
Thank you.
Polish leadership will be committed?
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good morning. Let me start by, first of all, as a country at the outer edge of the Eastern Mediterranean, welcome the ceasefire that was brokered by President Trump between Israel and Iran. But at the same time, let me express my firm belief that permanent solutions can only be found through active diplomacy. At the same time, it's important not to forget the other aspects of this regional crisis. It is absolutely necessary that we implement a ceasefire in Gaza, that humanitarian aid flows into Gaza. This is a big component of a permanent solution to the problem of instability in the region. Now, coming to this summit, I think it is very encouraging that we have all agreed to a significant increase in our defense spending. I have been a strong proponent of the need for Europe to step up our military spending and take more ownership over our own collective defense. Greece is a country which is currently spending more than 3% on defense, and we have consistently exceeded the 2% threshold even during the very difficult times of the economic crisis. So I welcome the decisions taken by the summit. I hope that all member states will do their part, because at the end of the day, this is an alliance which is based on trust and on fair burden sharing.
Prime Minister, if Greece can get to commit to 5% spending of military of GDP, why can't the Spanish? We have very similar history, very similar recent history for Greece and Spain. Surely you can put pressure on Mr. Sanchez to agree to a deal.
Well, first of all, let me say that, as I told you before, we are currently above 3%. So we have a plan to spend more than 25 billion over the next 12 years. So we will reach the 3.5 plus 1.5% threshold by 2035. But the point of an alliance is to make sure that there is a fair burden sharing, and that there is no sense that certain countries are sort of free riding on the defense commitment of other countries. So I think it is important to understand that these targets, I think, should be binding, and they should be binding for all 32 members of the alliance. Thank you.
I think you prefer the German Chancellor.
Wir sehen einem historischen NATO-Gipfel entgegen. Ich möchte zunächst einmal dem Generalsekretär Mark Rutte herzlich Dank sagen für die Vorbereitung, die sehr gute Vorbereitung dieses NATO-Gipfels. Wir hatten gestern Abend bereits Gelegenheit, mit den Staats- und Regierungschefs zu einem Abendessen zusammenzukommen und über verschiedene Themen miteinander zu sprechen. Ich gehe davon aus, dass wir heute eine gemeinsame Entscheidung treffen, die NATO in Zukunft mit wesentlich besseren Mitteln auszustatten. Wir werden einen Beschluss fassen, dass die NATO in Zukunft 3,5% und 1,5% zusätzlich für die Infrastruktur zur Verfügung stellt für unsere Streitkräfte. Dies alles wird in großer Übereinstimmung stattfinden, weil wir übereinstimmend feststellen, dass sich die Bedrohungslage geändert hat. Und die Bedrohung heißt insbesondere Russland. Russland bedroht nicht nur die Ukraine, Russland bedroht den gesamten Frieden, die gesamte politische Ordnung unseres Kontinents. Und deswegen will ich herzlich Dank sagen, dass wir in dieser großen Solidarität in der NATO heute zusammenkommen. Ich will ausdrücklich sagen, die Entscheidungen, die wir treffen, treffen wir nicht, um irgendjemandem einen Gefallen zu tun, sondern wir treffen diese Entscheidungen aus eigener Erkenntnis, aus eigener Überzeugung, dass die NATO insgesamt, und dies betrifft vor allem den europäischen Teil der NATO, in den nächsten Jahren mehr tun muss, um die eigene Verteidigungsfähigkeit zu sichern. Und deswegen gehe ich mit großer Zuversicht heute in diese Beratungen und freue mich darauf, die Kolleginnen und Kollegen in der NATO zu treffen. Herzlichen Dank.
Good morning, everybody. You know, NATO was founded some 75 years ago to defend international law, human rights, the rule of law, and I think this is more important than ever today at a time where we are living in, where we are seeing fundamental geopolitical changes. And in this context, it is quite impressive to see this unity among the 32 members of NATO. I think Europe needs to be a strong pillar of NATO, and that is why, independent of percentages, it is important that we strengthen our military capacities, but moreover, our general security. That goes cybersecurity, our competence to manage space, satellites, and indeed my country, Luxembourg, has some know-how in that area. So we need to put everything together so that tomorrow NATO will be a strong defense alliance, make sure that we can protect the way of life of our citizens, and to do that together with the United States is of course an asset, because there are many around us who do not like the way of life we have. So I'm happy to be here and to support this common effort for more security.
How truly committed is Donald Trump to NATO, you think?
The fact that the President of the United States is here today is a strong commitment, I think, to NATO.
But he keeps threatening to pull out from his NATO obligations.
I'm here to listen to the President of the United States and to all of the other colleagues. Being together is already something important that we witness here today.
Wie weit muss man gehen, um Donald Trump zu schonen, der die Europäer eigentlich verraten?
Wir sollten nicht nur nach Amerika schauen, wenn wir über unsere eigene Sicherheit nachdenken. Rund um Europa gibt es vieles, was nicht in Ordnung ist zurzeit. Wir haben Russland, wir haben den Nahen Osten, wir haben Ambitionen von China, und wir müssen selbst in Europa für unsere Sicherheit sorgen. Natürlich ist, was in Amerika geschieht, wichtig für die Allianz, aber selbst ohne diese unterschiedlichen Positionen haben wir die Sorge, dass wir die Lebensweise, die Lebensart der Europäer, Rechtsstaat, Freiheit, Frieden, die müssen wir absichern und darum geht es bei diesem NATO-Gipfel.
Frieden, Belgien und Spanien scheinen eine eigene Auslegung vom 5%-Ziel zu haben. Wie viel Flexibilität braucht man?
Der Weg zu diesen Ausgaben, den muss jeder Staat selbst beschließen. Und ich glaube, das, was NATO-Generalsekretär Rutte Spanien geschrieben hat, gilt natürlich für alle. Das heißt, jeder muss souverän, eigenständig seinen Weg zu diesen militärischen Kapazitäten und allgemein zur Sicherheit festlegen. Wir haben 10 Jahre, um das zu tun. Und ich glaube, da muss jeder seinen Weg finden, auch angesichts seiner geografischen Lage und seiner Geschichte. Vielen Dank. Artikel 5 ist ein Grundelement der NATO-Charta seit 1949. Das ist die Ursache, weshalb, glaube ich, viele von uns in NATO-Mitglied sind. Auch mein Land als Gründungsmitglied der NATO. Wir werden geschützt auch von den anderen. Und deshalb ist jeder, der hier etwas dazu beiträgt, ist auch ein Garant für die Freiheit und den Frieden anderer Staaten. Und deshalb gilt Artikel 5, auch Artikel 3. Wir müssen alle etwas dazu beitragen, um Sicherheit, Frieden und Freiheit zu garantieren. Vielen Dank.
Prime Minister, Luxembourg's been getting a free pass as well, hasn't it? It hasn't even got to 2% of spending yet, like the Spanish as well. Why hasn't Luxembourg got to 2% spending? And what are the hopes to get to 3.5%, sir?
My government has decided to, like some others, to spend 2% by the end of this year. So we are in line with many others. And our goal is to continue to increase our collective effort in the years to come. Thank you.
Worried about Donald Trump's kind of predictable interpretation of Article 5. Valid for the USA.
So, I would like to say that after the yesterday
Are you confident that Donald Trump would defend any NATO ally regardless of what they're spending on defense?
I am confident, but I'm afraid that the Russia might do soon. So we have to get ready and spend 5% of spending on that. So thank you very much. Goodbye. Bye.
Have a nice day.
Estar, como disse ontem Mark Rutte, bom dia, na mensagem que trocou com Donald Trump, que tornou pública nas redes sociais.
Bom, muito bom dia. Eu queria destacar no início desta cimeira 3 aspectos que me parecem determinantes num momento que é um momento particularmente relevante da nossa aliança. Em primeiro lugar, a nova ambição que sairá deste nosso encontro no que toca ao investimento na área da segurança e defesa, com vista a termos uma aliança atlântica com maior capacidade de dissuasão e de defesa do seu espaço territorial. Para esse efeito, todos teremos de fazer um esforço e este é um marco significativo da assunção de uma corresponsabilidade, de, nomeadamente na Europa, podermos acompanhar um nível de investimento compatível com os grandes desafios para enfrentarmos as ameaças e assegurarmos aos cidadãos europeus e também aos portugueses o cumprir da nossa democracia, dos direitos fundamentais dos cidadãos, da possibilidade de continuarmos a ser uma nação soberana, com os nossos aliados a constituírem connosco um espaço de dissuasão de qualquer ameaça à nossa integralidade e ao nosso espaço. Para esse efeito, teremos de investir mais na área da defesa e a segunda nota é reiterar mais uma vez que da parte do governo português nós acompanharemos esse esforço, assumimos já o encargo de este ano atingir 2% do nosso produto em investimento na área da defesa, um investimento que continuará nos próximos anos, dentro de um contexto de equilíbrio, que não porá em causa nem a nossa situação financeira, nem as nossas responsabilidades com todos os serviços públicos que constituem as respostas sociais aos nossos cidadãos, e dizer que olhamos para esta nova etapa não propriamente como a assunção de maior despesa por si só, mas de maior investimento. Nós não queremos apenas gastar mais dinheiro, nós queremos investir mais na nossa indústria, investir mais na nossa capacidade, poder dinamizar a nossa economia, poder aproveitar os nossos recursos humanos que, do ponto de vista tecnológico, estão num estádio de vanguarda, podermos criar novas oportunidades de emprego e temos a repercussão económica deste investimento. E, em terceiro lugar, também destacar que, mais uma vez, creio que na Aliança Atlântica ficará muito claro o apoio à Ucrânia na procura de uma paz justa e duradoura, uma paz com a Ucrânia e uma paz com a Europa também.
Donald Trump fez com que Portugal chegasse aos 2% já este ano e se compromete nos 5%.
Não, nós temos uma perspectiva de poder ter um investimento nos próximos 10 anos que estimamos possa gerar um consenso agora na Cimeira, não quero já antecipar as conclusões, de se poder atingir 3,5% do produto, mas aquilo que é importante para nós salvaguardar é que nós faremos isto com equilíbrio, de forma progressiva, conciliando todas as nossas responsabilidades, nomeadamente a estabilidade financeira e, por via dela, também a responsabilidade que temos de assegurar às portuguesas e aos portugueses todas as respostas sociais e, portanto, não prejudicar nenhum dos nossos eixos de política pública com o reforço deste investimento. Portugal está preparado para ser parte de uma cimeira que marca uma nova fase, que garante a unidade da Aliança Atlântica, que garante a solidariedade entre a Europa, os Estados Unidos, o Canadá, que garante que nós, em conjunto, poderemos continuar a assegurar aos nossos cidadãos que os seus direitos, liberdades e garantias estão salvaguardados, que podemos ter as nossas democracias a funcionar e que podemos ter uma capacidade coletiva de enfrentarmos as ameaças que pairam sobre nós a vários níveis, não só do ponto de vista territorial, mas também do ponto de vista tecnológico. Nós hoje temos ameaças que são mais difíceis, muitas vezes, de percepcionar, mas que todos os dias temos diante de nós, nomeadamente no ciberespaço, nomeadamente naquilo que são hoje contextos de perturbação do normal funcionamento dos regimes democráticos e que existem efetivamente e para enfrentar essas ameaças nós precisamos desta solidariedade. Muito obrigado e bom trabalho. Obrigado.
Good to see you.
Mr. Prime Minister.
You are the Hungarians over there, okay.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Are we moving to 5% from Hungary's point of view? If so, is this of a level to deter Russian aggression? And is NATO creating more problems in its relations?
Too long. The question is too long. Sorry.
Okay, so
Come back to the 5%. Yeah. With one precondition. So we are able to do it. It's not easy, but the whole calculation of budget regulation of European Union must be changed. So if we keep the regulation as it is, nobody in the European Union is able to fulfill 5%, whatever they say. So we have to recalculate everything in a different method. In that case, we can do.
Aren't you fiddling the figures?
Sorry?
Aren't you fiddling the figures? Creative accounting.
You like it?
Mr. Orbán, isn't it concerning that our global security depends on one man's ego, Donald Trump's?
I don't think so. The international order is more based on common sense. And the President of the United States is a man of the common sense. As you have seen just recently, to manage the conflict between Iran and Israel. So he's the man of common sense. Which means that the new wars getting shorter and the old wars are running out of the fuel, which is the consequence of his activity. Sorry.
Who will run the show today, Trump?
Biggest threat to Europe. Is Putin the biggest threat to Europe?
Biggest threat to Europe? Losing the competitiveness. That's the real threat, not the real threat is not security-wise, it's economic and losing our competitiveness on the global trade. That's our problem.
Do you think that Russia will be mentioned?
Donald Trump's leadership towards NATO.
Sorry?
What do you think of Donald Trump's leadership?
Welcome back.
Do you think he deserves as much credit as Mark Rutte gave him in his private text messages yesterday?
Styles are different in many countries.
Prime Minister, do you expect Russia to be mentioned?
Sorry.
Do you expect that Russia will be mentioned as a threat or an adversary in a final statement after this summit?
It's always mentioned like that.
Do you support it?
You know, I think Russia is not strong enough to represent a real threat to us. We are far stronger. Blocking what? No, we don't block it. You know, NATO has no business in Ukraine. Ukraine is not member of NATO, neither Russia. And my job is to keep it as it is. Thank you very much.
Good morning. It's always good to talk after Victor. You know, first of all, I would like to say that this is a very important meeting, and this is not about the technical details or about the decisions of secondary importance. I think we should choose the motto, make NATO great again. And in the center of this ambition is 5% level of spending. 5% do not deter. The percentages do not fight on the battlefield. But they must be translated into the cash, and the cash should be translated into real capabilities. We have to admit, we are lagging behind of Russia. And Russia is producing much more equipment and ammunition as we taken together. So for Baltic countries, for the Lithuania I represent, it's pretty clear that we even don't need the transitional periods. We are ready to do our job right now, 4% this year. And next year, we intend to spend 5.25% of our GDP, keeping that level of spending until 2030. I would like to extend my gratitude to President Donald Trump, because without his engagement, I can imagine that we would discuss probably the level of 2.5% with no clear outcome and positive outcome. Probably those discussions will lead to nothing. So sometimes the external pressure of our biggest ally is very useful in order to get the point, to understand the, heat of the moment and to do our job. Why we need 5% in my country? We need in order to modernize our army, to create the national division, and to be ready to grant the best conditions for our allies, for our best friends and allies, Germany, United States. The 1,000 soldiers are stationed in Lithuania, United States soldiers. We have very ambitious plan to have full-scale German brigade until 2027. So for that, we need financial resources, and we are ready to do that.
Mr. President, we just heard Mr.
Sorry, it's not.
Mr. Orban just said that actually the biggest threat to Europe is lack of competition, lack of competitiveness. When he was asked if Mr. Putin is the biggest threat, I presume you believe Mr. Putin.
I could agree with Victor in this regard, that competition is important. But you know, we should understand very well, without the security, without our readiness to defend every inch of allied territories, all other remaining issues are just not relevant. Because if we lose our territorial integrity and independence, why we need this competitiveness? For what?
Do you believe Donald Trump would come to your aid if you were attacked? Do you believe Donald Trump would come to your aid if you were attacked?
I believe here in Article 5, and I think that Article 5 is very simple: one for all for one. And I am looking forward to hear and to listen what will be the description of Article 5. But in my understanding, Article 5 is pretty clear.
But Trump keeps changing his mind.
I don't think so, and I really appreciate the President Trump. If he would not interested in the future of the NATO, why he would push these 5% on the table? I think this is very important to understand. If some person is interested to get the organization stronger, then proposals are coming, and proposals are coming from our biggest ally, and we have to respect those proposals.
But do you, Mr. President, what do you think? What is your assessment? Why Russia poses so big threat to us now? What are Mr. Putin's goals at the moment?
Let's go to the year 2007, 2008. Mr. Putin said that the largest tragedy of 20th century was the collapse of Soviet Union. And if you listen what he's saying carefully, you will explain all the activities we faced in the recent decade, starting from Crimea, going to the war in Ukraine, and of course these threats. These threats are around us. And of course we should talk not only about Ukraine, Middle East, incidents in the Baltic Sea, almost everyday incidents, attacks against the critical infrastructure. This is our reality. This is our business as usual. And this is because of Russian activities. And of course, close ally Belarus, because Belarus is another issue, and we have very long border with Belarus, and we face another kind of hybrid activities, for example, in the form of illegal and instrumentalized migration.
Mr. President.
We appreciate very much your contribution, because this is integral part of EFP troops in Lithuania, and we all are working as a one strong power. 2035, of course, looking from our perspective, it is too late, because as I mentioned, we are ready to spend immediately 5%, and we would be happy to see that our allies, our partners, we are ready to do the same. But you know, NATO, like the European Council, is the organization of the consensus. If they reach the consensus, and the consensus is 2035, let's be like that. And I hope that we will increase the financing every year, consequently, in order to reach this target.
Mr. President, given that everyone seems to be...
As a forerunner on defense spending, how concerned are you about the flexible interpretation of the 5% target from Spain and Belgium? Do you think this can actually jeopardize the declaration?
I read the sentence. Allies are obliged to spend 5%, 3.5% on the core defense spending, 1.5% on additional infrastructure spending, and to do that until 2035. And I cannot see any interpretations in the text. We all are obliged, and this is our common duty, to do the best. We should just make organization capable to withstand the pressure, not necessarily only the pressure of Russian Federation, but also the pressure of some other hostile nations. So this is our task.
Everyone seems to be having a different interpretation of what Donald Trump meant about Article 5. Do you believe that allies should have this conversation today at the table?
I don't know if there will be some conversation. It would be very useful, because it would be pretty clear what is the Article 5. And maybe we need this very frank discussion about Article 5, because if we describe and we understand Article 5, we all together, we understand, our understanding is the same, of course it would mean that organization will be safer without no interpretations. Maybe this discussion has to come.
So you agree that now everyone has like slightly different
Maybe
interpretations.
I will have some more answers to your question probably after our today's meeting. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I hope that the bilateral meeting of President Zelensky and United States President Donald Trump will take place. And I hope this is most important to know, that there is close contact between United States and Ukraine. And it's very important to keep this constant contact, to explain the arguments, to explain the situation, because the situation is changing every day. We understand. We are not far away from Ukraine. We understand the situation is changing. Not necessarily to the positive side, because Russia is trying to do to push the territories to go deeper into the territory of Ukraine, and probably this is a calculation of Vladimir Putin, just to imitate the negotiations, and meanwhile to attack, to occupy even larger territories of Ukraine, and maybe then somewhen sit at the table and to start peace negotiations. But I think this is not a very fair approach, and we have to resist it. Thank you.
Uranium and pursue nuclear weapons.
They've said that, but I'll tell you, the last thing they want to do is enrich anything right now. They want to recover. And we won't let that happen, number one. Militarily, we won't. I think we'll end up having somewhat of a relationship with Iran. I see it. Look, I've had a relationship over the last 4 days. They agreed to the ceasefire. And it was a very equal agreement. They both said, that's enough. They both said it. But no, they won't do that. The last thing they want to do, Katie, is enrich. They're not looking to... They're not. Can you imagine after all of that, they're going to say, "Oh, let's go and do a bomb." You know, there could be a day in the future, and then somebody else taking our place will be saying, "Don't do it," and maybe they won't do it as well. I don't know, but they're not going to have a bomb, and they're not going to enrich. And we believe all of the stuff is down there. We don't think they had nearly the time, because to get that out is a very difficult thing. It's not like moving a package or taking this carpet up and moving it. It's very difficult. It's very dangerous to do. We believe it's all down there. We had a tremendous victory, a tremendous hit, and because of that, I don't think they would have been down there, because they knew we were coming. When they know we're coming, they're not going to be down in that 30 stories underground. So no, I think it was just a tremendous victory for everybody, including Iran. Look, they've got a country. and they've got oil, and they're very smart people, and they can come back. Israel got hit very hard, especially the last couple of days. Israel was hit really hard. Those ballistic missiles, boy, they took out a lot of buildings. And they've been great. Bibi Netanyahu should be very proud of himself. And they've really been great. But they're not going to be building bombs for a long time.
Mr. President, what's your reaction to the intelligence reports saying that the Iranian nuclear sites were only partially devastated, not entirely?
Yeah, well, they said it was actually, the report said it could have been very, they don't know. I mean, they did a report. I could have Pete talk to it because his department did the report. They really don't know. I think Israel's going to be telling us very soon because Bibi is going to have people involved in that whole situation. We hear it was obliteration. It was a virtual obliteration. When you take a look at the ground above, don't forget, the flame is all underground. But everything above, if you look at the before and the after picture, everything above is burned black, the trees, everything. There's one building, but that's a building that sunk substantially into the granite, so that, you know, the fire goes right over it. It was, I believe it was total obliteration. I believe they didn't have a chance to get anything out because we acted fast. If it would have taken 2 weeks maybe, but it's very hard to remove that kind of material. Very hard and very dangerous for them to remove it. Plus, they knew we were coming, and if they know we're coming, they're not going to be down there. There aren't too many people that are going to be down there. Pete, do you have something to say about that?
Well, Mr. President, when you talk to the people who built the bombs, understand what those bombs can do, and deliver those bombs, they landed precisely where they were supposed to. So it was a flawless mission.
Flawless.
Right down where we knew they needed to enter. And given the 30,000 pounds of explosives and capability of those munitions, it was devastation underneath Fordo. And the amount of munitions, 6 per location, any assessment that tells you it was something otherwise is speculating with other motives. And we know that because when you actually look at the report, by the way, it was a top secret report, it was preliminary, it was low confidence. All right, so this isn't, you make assessments based on what you know. They
and it said it could be very devastating, very serious.
Moderate to severe, and we believe far more likely severe and obliterated. So this is a political motive here.
Was there a leak investigation?
Of course. We're doing a leak investigation with the FBI right now because this information is for internal purposes, battle damage assessments, and CNN and others are trying to spin it to make the president look bad when this was an overwhelming success.
We had a tremendous success, and this is the New York Times. I call it the failing New York Times. It's going to hell. And CNN, which, as you know, very few people are watching. And you would think they'd do the opposite. You would think they'd want to say, this was an unbelievable success. And the thing that hurts me is it's really demeaning to the pilots and the people that put that whole thing together, the generals. That was a perfect operation. And when you look at the holes, and this was done from 52,000 feet, there was no moon, there was no light, and those 3 holes are right together. And also, and nobody talks about this, we shot 30 Tomahawks from submarines, in particular one submarine, but that was 400 miles away. And every one of those Tomahawks hit within a foot of where they were supposed to hit, took out a lot of buildings that Israel wasn't able to get. We took them out with Tomahawks. We don't even talk about that. This was a devastating attack, and it knocked them for a loop. And you know, if it didn't, they wouldn't have settled. If they had won, if we didn't take it out, they wouldn't have settled. Somebody mentioned that to me last night. If that thing wasn't devastated, they would have never settled. Marco, do you have something to say?
No, first of all the stuff about the intelligence, this is what a leaker is telling you the intelligence says. That's the game these people play. They read it, and then they go out and characterize it the way they want it characterized, and they're leakers. This is the game they play. So that's number one. Number two, here's a fact. The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility, we can't even find where it is, where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone.
It's wiped out.
It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in 2 places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape. And I refer you to the statement of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi. You know what he said? He said there was Iran, the way it looked the day before the attack, and what their nuclear program looks like now. 2 very different things. They are way behind where they were just 7 days ago. Now, anything in the world can be rebuilt, but now we know where it is. And if they try to rebuild it, we'll have options there as well. But all this leaker stuff, these leakers are professional. stabbers. That's what they are. They go out and they read this stuff and then they tell you what it says against the law, but they characterize it for you in a way that's absolutely false. There's no way Iran comes to the table if somehow nothing had happened. This was complete and total obliteration. They're in bad shape. They are way behind today compared to where they were just 7 days ago because of what the president did.
Marco, can I just alert you to one other aspect? So the great thing is you took out the nuclear capability of Iran. This was crucial. You did it in a way which is extremely impressive. But the signal sends to the rest of the world that this president, when it comes to it, yes, he is a man of peace, but if necessary, he is willing to use strength, the enormous strength of the American military. So I think that signal to the rest of the world, this is far beyond Iran, is extremely important. So let me also point us to that aspect of what happened.
They went down, Iran went down to the site afterwards. They said it's so devastated, and they settled when they saw what we did to it. And frankly, if we didn't do that, they would have had a lot of ammunition to keep going. They wouldn't have settled. Somebody brought that up, and 2 Iranians went down to see it, and they called back and they said, this place is gone. So it's just fake news by CNN, which has got no ratings. It's a failed network. Anybody here from CNN, by the way? Because you're a really disgraceful network. MSNBC, I think, is actually worse. But they're all pretty bad. But yours is good, Katie, I'll tell you.
Mr. President,
You know what Marco reminded me that he did such a nice job there? It was 9 years ago I had to debate this guy. He was not easy. I think he even got better. But when you were into your little thing, I said, this is when I had to debate this guy. You think it's easy to debate him? It's not easy.
How long do you think that the Iranian nuclear program has been put back by these strikes? Years or totally obliterated?
I think basically decades, because I don't think they'll ever do it again. I just don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to take their oil, they're going to have some missiles, and they'll have some defense. I think they've had it. I mean, they just went through hell. I think they've had it. The last thing they want to do is enrich. They've been trying to do it. By the way, it's hard to enrich. And, you know, when you look at a site like that, very, very hard to build. Very, very hard, very expensive. They spent trillions of dollars trying to do this thing, and they didn't come up with it. And we're actually getting along with them very well right now. But had we not succeeded with that hit ended the war. That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
If the Iranians do rebuild, would the United States...
If they rebuild?
Would the United States strike again? And I have also a question about Russia.
But I'm not going to have to worry about that. It's gone for years. Very tough to rebuild because the whole thing has collapsed. In other words, inside, it's all collapsed. Nobody can get in to see it because it's collapsed. You can't go in to see a room that has, 10 million tons of rock in it. And the tunnels are totally collapsed.
But if they rebuild?
Well, they've already looked at the tunnels. This was an unbelievable hit by genius pilots and genius people in the military, and they're not being given credit for it because we have scum that's in this group, and not all of you are. You have some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York Times is scum. They're bad people. They're sick. And what they've done is they're trying to make this unbelievable victory into something less. Now, even they admit that it was hit very hard, okay? But it wasn't hit hard. It was hit brutally, and it knocked it out. The original word that I use, I guess it got us in trouble because it's a strong word. It was obliteration. And you'll see that. And it's going to come out. Israel is doing a report on it now, I understand. And I was told that they said it was total obliteration. They have guys that go in there after the hit, and they say it was total obliteration. And, I don't want it for me. I want it for the pilots. I want it for the military. They did such a good job. If you were in the Situation Room with me, with the generals and all of the people that did such a good job, and then they get demeaned by these idiots at CNN who can't get ratings, the place is dying, nobody wants to even waste their time going on their shows. So they form with the New York Times, who's dying also. Without Trump, you wouldn't have a New York Times.
And then just changing gears to your meeting with Zelensky later today, can you give us any preview of what the two of you might be discussing?
No, well, we'll discuss the obvious. We'll discuss his difficulty. He's got a little difficulty. Zelensky. He's a nice guy. I mean, I'm going to meet him today. I don't know. I assume we're going to be discussing Ukraine.
Yes.
And it seems like the most
Is
likely
there
subject.
any restart talks there or anything that you might do?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, I've spoken to Putin a lot, and he actually was very nice. He volunteered help on, as you know, on Iran. I said, no, I don't need help on Iran. I need help on Russia. Okay? I said, do me a favor. Help us on Russia, not on Iran. But he was very nice. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk. I think progress is being made. I think great progress is being made on Gaza. I think because of this attack that we made, I think we're going to have some very good news. I was talking to Steve Witkoff, who, by the way, is terrific, and who knows more about this subject than anybody, the subject of what we were just talking about. He was on last night with Jesse and with Laura and with Sean. And boy, Susie, he has a great take on it. He just explains it so easily. He's really very knowledgeable. But he did tell me that Gaza is very close.
Mr. President, just one follow-up on Iran. Both you and Secretary Rubio and Hexet mentioned the leak. But can you clarify, is the intelligence correct or is the intelligence wrong?
Well, the intelligence was very inconclusive. Okay. The intelligence says we don't know. It could have been very severe. That's what the intelligence says. So I guess that's correct. But I think we can take the we don't know. It was very severe. It was obliteration. And you'd think that a media outlet would say, isn't that a great thing? I mean, more importantly for the pilots, for the military, you take their guts out. You take their absolute guts out. They had a tremendous attack. There was a complete obliteration. The other team, the other group, Iran, said, let's stop this. And you know what? Israel said it too. Very smart. They fought like hell, and then they said, let's stop. And they're going to build themselves. And I really see it as sticking. I mean, we may do papers on it, Marco. Maybe we're going to do papers. I don't even know if you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easy to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language to
You have to use
stop
strong
them.
language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
I think we have to join the others.
Yes, we're going to join some other group. Yes, thank you. Katie, one
last question. Do you believe
she's so good. That's the only reason I
Thank you, Mr. President.
She used to be very difficult, but now she... Go ahead.
Do you believe that this strike on the Iranian nuclear program will lead to the release of the hostages in Gaza?
I think that it helped a little bit. It showed a lot of power. Yeah, I think it helped, but we're going to get separately, even before this, we were very close to making a deal on Gaza. I think this helped, yes. Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you, Press.
Thank you, Press.
Thanks, guys.
Pardon? Oh, daar. In ons lijkt nu meer dan niemand. Dus moeten we er even wennen. Nee, dat moest ook niet. Ja,
Ik denk dat
Visita met z'n allen met het paarse pak aan. Ja. Rechts net iets wat je zoomt nu met iemand. Ik kan hem net niet zien. Ik denk het wel, maar het ook niet altijd zijn. I'm going back, only for one shot. No, never mind. Ja. Oh ja. Kom maar niet bij. Aan de grote camera. Nee, dat is niet. Can I try 1 sec? It's just Rubio standing there with the camera in front of him.
Ik heb al een foto van het paleis. Nee, ik zie helemaal niks hier. Dit wordt echt een beetje... Je ziet helemaal nergens. Nee, ik ben even met het boot geweest. Dus ik kan er niet overheen. Nee, doe maar door. Hier heb je mijn fototoestel. Ik ga er naar achter dat ik een beetje in het licht sta.
Dat is fijn. Oh. Mevrouw, sorry, maar u weg? Even kijken, heeft u het en ik voel u stikken.
Nee, maar gewoon er tussendoor, dat maakt niet uit.
Ik ga maar een stukje door.
Ik kan niet heel lang... Ja.
Doe eentje alleen met Valerino.
Doe maar dicht. Nee. Oh, dat kan anders. Ja. iPhone kan alles, hè. Die kan het heel scherp vastmaken. Ben jij mijn camera? Kan je wat zien? Kan je open?
Hier zit de knop.
Deze. Ik heb met
Ja, gewoon pas op zo'n monde. C'est américain. Américain. C'est tout vieux, lui. Là, ça c'est beaucoup de chance, hein, ça. Rubio.
Ja, ik oh ja. Ja, even naar de Mac. Naar de Mac, ja, dit is gewoon 24/7 open in Delft. Ja, maar is dat zo lekker af en toe? Volgens hem. Dat weet ik niet. Ja, maar wat zijn ze? Zijn ze nu? Nee, maar ik bedoel... Ja.
Het is heel lang dat je hebt gewonnen.
Ja, wij wachten gewoon rustig. Even kijken. Wij komen er nu aan. schrijft Martijn 25 minuten. Over de groepsfoto. Ja, dat gaat niet. Ja. Doen we nog even de persco?
Hoe lang blijven we hier staan?
Korte week.
Ja, nou, we staan lang genoeg. Nee, maar we zien natuurlijk in principe op het moment dat het zit, dan zie je het. Oh, dan
ja, dan moeten we.
Ja, dan. We hebben nog een paar weken.
Ja, want daar zit ik ook te wachten. Iedereen zit. En dan kan ik een overzichtje maken en even er doorheen. Dat helpt toch? Ja, fijn hè?
Yes, it's US. Okay, the name is Hague. Yes, Hague, and the first name Hague.
Can you please tell me if you got a screenshot? Can you see it?
The Netherlands, a small country shaped by water and by the people who refuse to give in to it. For centuries, the Dutch have battled water as generations stood united against this force, because safety isn't a given. It's something you build together. In 1949, we stood at the cradle of NATO, bound by the belief that peace is protected through unity and strength. Since then, NATO has shielded us, sparing 3 Dutch generations the horrors of war. As the Dutch unite against the sea, NATO allies unite to share the burden of defense and security. With deeper commitments and collaboration, we stand even stronger. Backed by partners around the world, 32 nations stand as one. We stand firm against our foes, on land, at sea, in the skies, in space, and cyberspace. Peace is our purpose, deterrence our shield, readiness our promise. NATO is not just about nations, it's about people, leaders, soldiers, citizens, each playing their part to protect the life we built for ourselves and future generations. NATO, security through strength.
So, good morning. Good morning to you all, and welcome to this leaders session of the North Atlantic Council. We meet at a dangerous moment for our 1 billion citizens. Russia's war against Ukraine rages on. An assertive grouping of adversaries seeks to divide and challenge us. There's war in the Middle East, terrorism poses a persistent threat, and new technologies bring opportunities, but also many serious security challenges. In the face of this, we stand together, united in NATO, the most powerful defensive alliance in world history. History has shown that North America and Europe working together is a winning combination. Our adversaries know this. Our enduring commitment to Article 5, that an attack on one is an attack on all, sends a powerful message. In this meeting, we will take historic, transformational decisions to make our people safer through a stronger, fairer, and more lethal NATO. To make NATO stronger, we have a concrete plan for all allies to spend 5% of GDP on defense. It will go towards core defense as well as defense and security-related investments. This decision is deeply rooted in our core mission and is required to resource our plans and readiness. This will also make NATO fairer, to ensure anyone and everyone contributes their fair share for our security. For too long, one ally, the United States, carried too much of the burden of that commitment, and that changes today. President Trump, dear Donald, you made this change possible. Your leadership on this has already produced $1 trillion in extra spending from European allies since 2016. And the decisions today will produce trillions more for our common defense to make us stronger and fairer by equalizing spending between America and America's allies. Allies will also agree to further increase defense production so that our armed forces have everything they need. That means a huge expansion of our defense industrial base on both sides of the Atlantic. That's good for our security, it's good for our economies and good for our jobs. Our decisions include continuing our support to Ukraine, while also pushing for a just and lasting peace. We all want the bloodshed to stop. We call on Russia to end its aggression against Ukraine. Let me now turn to Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Dick Schoof, whose government and people are graciously hosting us here. Thank you to the media for joining us. We will continue our discussions in just a moment, but first, and with the media here, please, Dick Schoof, your introductory remarks.
Thank you, Mark. Colleagues, friends, allies, on behalf of the Dutch government, welcome to The Hague. This is the NATO summit, the first NATO summit ever to be held in the Netherlands. And we are honored to have you here in this city that has been speaking in the language of peace and justice ever since the first Hague Peace Conference was held in 1899. I'm convinced that after today, The Hague will also be known as the city of collective purpose, unity and resolve. After all, we are about to write history. We are about to make decisions leading to an unprecedented increase in our collective defense spending and financial balance in our alliance. Both are urgent, both are necessary, and both will help make our transatlantic bond even stronger, so we can do justice to our founding principles of democracy, liberty and the rule of law, as laid down in the Washington Treaty. The last NATO event held in The Hague was a foreign minister meeting in 1989, just as the Iron Curtain was beginning to break apart on the eve of the Cold War's end. And for a period, we hoped and believed that relations with Russia would continue to thaw. But the end of history turned out to be an illusion. An illusion that was shattered for good when Russia brutally invaded Ukraine. So today, there is a renewed awareness in our ranks that peace cannot be taken for granted, that it must be protected constantly and with conviction. And yes, peace comes at a cost. We must act on this swiftly and decisively. So let's stand united and embrace the Hague Defense Investment Plan. Let's go to work and write that history today. Thank you.
So thank you for the media for joining us, but in the spirit of democracy, I have to ask you to leave the room now. Thank you.
very happy that we are going to take a very crucial decision. Well, a very good morning, and I'm here to be for the NATO summit, and I'm very happy that we are going to take a very crucial decision when it comes to defense spending. 5% is the target, and Latvia is going to support that, and Latvia is also going to reach 5% defense spending very soon. Actually, next year we are going to get it 4%. But what is very important that we also acknowledge Russia as the threat, and that that is not only about money, but also about real alliances capabilities.
Is Vladimir Putin running rings around Donald Trump?
Sorry?
Is Vladimir Putin running rings around Donald Trump?
No, I don't believe that. I do believe that the United States do want to have peace. However, it is important to acknowledge that Russia is the threat, that Russia understands only strengths, and if we achieve peace through the strengths, then Vladimir Putin is not going to round anything, not only around the United States, but also NATO. So can you speak up? Well, I think that what we are going to see, and what we are going to see in the declaration that we are going to approve, hopefully it's ready, that there is understanding of Article 5 as the agreement. Well, let me say that everything that I have been hearing, that the US support for NATO and also understanding of Article 5 is very, very clear. What we are talking actually about Article 5, by the way, in the NATO, is hybrid warfare. We have a traditional risks, and then you have kind of attacks that Latvia, for instance, is experiencing currently from Belarus. Migration being used as the weapon, and that's a hybrid attack. Do we see this more as Article 5 issue? No. Can we see it in the future? If we see that there is a problem, we are going to raise this issue under the Article 4, which is consultations, and then go to Article 5. Well, I think that he is very clear, and we will see that in the declaration. Thank you.
Ja, 5% van ons bbp uitgeven aan defensie, dat is nu niet direct iets waar je vrolijk.
Good morning to everyone. So this summit comes at a crucial moment for the Euro-Atlantic security, and it's vital for the allies to show strength and unity, and the NATO remains the strongest alliance in the world. We will reaffirm our commitment to collective defense, and it's as outlined in Article 5. Our security and the threats are growing, they're really serious. First of all, from Russia's aggression war in Ukraine to daily and cyber hybrid threats and cyber attacks. So allies must invest more in defense. First of all, their increased budgets to adopt new technologies and expand military production. We believe their 5% target is achievable, and this summit will focus on how to reach it, and so Croatia is committed to NATO. Croatia is also increasing its defense spending and also boosting resilience and to address many security challenges, including those arising also from Western Balkans, the region which is significant, strategic, important not only to Croatia but also to our whole alliance. We will, of course, express our strong solidarity to Ukraine, and will discuss for support for a just peace. Croatia has been with Ukraine since day one and will be with Ukraine in the future. Croatia has provided a significant financial, diplomatic, political, humanitarian aid to Ukraine, including the demining, veteran cares, and refugee support. As my Prime Minister said in Odessa, so helping or assisting the Ukraine is not only the act of solidarity, it's an investment. It's an investment in European security and, of course, in the international order based on the rule. So thank you so much.